What's up, guys? Peter Von Panda here. Hey, you may collect things, maybe military memorabilia, maybe Pokemon, whatever. A lot of people do collect stuff, and in fact, I wanted to sit down with a fairly prolific Boy Scout memorabilia collector and just talk about what differentiates some of the counterfeit or fake material out there from the real material. This is a problem in pretty much every space, whether it's counterfeit handbags, watches, etc. If there's value in something and there's demand for something, someone out there is counterfeiting it. So what I wanted to do is just use this one example. We actually sat down and took a look at this patch, which is a 1933 World Jamboree. This is a Boy Scout Jamboree, and the patch that all of the attending scouts get is relatively valuable, especially the older the Jamboree is, the fewer scouts attended, the fewer patches there are, kind of the simpler and more flimsy material they used, and so patches that have survived that long can be very rare and sometimes can be very, very valuable. Now, I want to make sure that I acknowledge that there are patches, especially in the Boy Scout world, that are reproduced. And they're not fakes or forgeries or counterfeits, but they're tribute patches, and often they are designed to look like the old patch, but use modern materials. So in a lot of cases, the original silk patches might be reproduced, but on regular thick polyester or nylon type of patches with kind of modern thread and thick backings and a very thick plastic backing as well. And often they will say, in honor of or in spirit of or reproduction or we're celebrating the centennial or whatever it is. But usually they're pretty obvious that they aren't supposed to be the original patch, that they're just a tribute to the patch. The other thing I want to say here is that, why would you fake a Boy Scout patch? Well, a lot of the patches, especially in the 30s when the national or when the World Jamborees began, some of those patches now, from the one from the very first World Jamboree, can easily be thousands of dollars, and after that the prices start coming down, but they can easily be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in actual monetary value, and they can kind of slide down from there. Even a really modern Jamboree patch can be $100 to a few $100. So certainly worthwhile to fake because they really intrinsically only have a few cents worth of material in them. Now, the first thing that you'll notice on this patch is that the patch, the 33 fake, is actually cut differently. And so the edge is actually has that zigzag pattern that's made by sewing shears, and that's kind of a dead giveaway that the patch is fake. In this case, sewing shears weren't really super common in 32, 33, and they're used to cut material and kind of preserve the edge and keep it from fraying. In the earliest jamborees, what they did is they often sewed the silk patches on a long roll of silk, and so what they did is they just straight cutted the patches basically out of a roll of silk, kind of like a long toilet paper with the patches printed on them. So they had a straight cut, and that meant the edges frayed and a lot of the patches didn't survive. But to have that kind of sewing shears cut is a good indication that it might be a modern reproduction. You also want to make sure that the look is right, the stitching looks right. You want to make sure that if the patch was silk, that it's made out of silk and not made from a more modern synthetic thread. You also want to make sure that the size and proportions are right. There usually is going to be fairly good documentation on what the original size was, and a lot of times the sizes are just a little off, and sometimes the fake patches are way off, often too big. A lot of the original and antique patches were actually very, very small, so a really large patch could also be an indication that it's fake, but you really want to know exactly what those early dimensions are, because if it says 2¼ inches in width and you find one that's 2½, good chance that it's not correct, because over time those patches got smaller, not bigger. The other thing that you really want to do is use an expert. Now in this case, talking to this collector, he actually bought this patch from an expert. This collector is a pretty decent expert in the patch collecting world, and so they were both duped. He didn't think that the original collector that sold it to him thought it was a fake either, but it actually is very close. The material, the size is right. Like I said, the cut is wrong, but you would be really, really hard pressed upon inspection, even looking at the back, to tell it's a fake. But it is, and in this case, the actual 1933, the real patch is probably worth hundreds of dollars, and the fake patch, even though it's probably 99% similar, is worth absolutely nothing. And in fact, as a collector, what a lot of these guys don't want to do is put a fake patch back into circulation. This collector is holding on to it, making sure that it's noted to be a fake, and sometimes specifically marking these as a fake and putting them on the record as a fake. It will help other people identify fakes so that they aren't duped. You could also destroy them or dispose of them, but sometimes just getting the word out there about what to look for is really helpful to other collectors. So that is my information on how to spot a fake Boy Scout patch. There are lots of different ones out there. Consult with an expert, and happy hunting and happy trading at your local tradery. Peter Von Panda. Out!